In the mid-18th century, a seemingly small war between two European powers and their colonial allies would shape the course of history. A war fought far from the battlefields of Europe, in the wilderness of North America, the French and Indian War. It may seem like a forgotten conflict, but the truth is, this war changed everything. From the outcome of this war, the foundations of the United States were laid. But it wasn't just about who won. It was about the deep shifts in power, colonial tensions, and alliances that would set the stage for a revolution decades later. What really happened in the French and Indian War, and why does it matter today? It all started long before the first shots were fired. The year is 1754. North America is a land of opportunity, but it's also a land of competition. The British, having established colonies along the eastern coast, are looking westward, towards the fertile lands of the Ohio River Valley, but standing in their way? The French Empire. The French, with their stronghold in Canada and a series of forts in the west, control the vast territory of New France. But they don't occupy it the same way the British do. They've built strong relationships with Native American tribes, trading furs and offering military alliances. For the British, the French presence in the West is a direct threat to their expansion. They see the Ohio Valley as the key to securing their future in North America. But the French have already claimed it. This is where things get complicated. Who owns this land, who controls this territory, and who will the native tribes ally with? Because in this war, the Native American tribes will not be mere bystanders. They will play a critical role, each tribe making its own decisions, some siding with the French, others with the British, all with different hopes for their futures. In 1754, young George Washington, then a lieutenant colonel, was sent to the Ohio Valley on a mission to challenge French expansion. But things didn't go as planned. Washington's men clashed with French forces and their Native American allies in what would become the first battle of the French and Indian War. Washington's retreat became a symbol of the larger struggle to come. But this wasn't just a clash of armies, this was a clash of two worlds. The British were used to the traditional European way of war, rigid, disciplined, on open battlefields, but the French, with their Native American allies, knew how to fight in the dense forests of North America. Guerrilla warfare, surprise ambushes, hit-and-run tactics, this was a war unlike any the British had fought before. It would be a war of attrition, with brutal skirmishes throughout the forests, rivers, and valleys of the colonies. For nearly 4 years, the French and their native allies would hold their ground, frustrating the British at every turn. But in 1757, the tides began to shift. In 1757, Britain's new Prime Minister William Pitt turned the tide of the war. With a focused strategy and a huge infusion of resources, Britain was ready to fight, and fight to win. The British finally adapted to the terrain. British forces, under commanders like James Wolfe, took bold risks, securing crucial victories, including the Battle of Quebec in 1759, the turning point. The French, overwhelmed by Britain's superior resources, began to fall back. By 1763, the war was over. The Treaty of Paris was signed, Britain had won, and New France, Canada and vast territories in the West, was ceded to Britain. But the victory came at a cost. A staggering debt and the seeds of a new conflict. The Treaty of Paris seemed like a win for Britain. They controlled a vast new empire in North America. But the war had left deep scars, and the consequences would change the continent forever. The Native American tribes, who had played such a critical role in the war, were left with nothing. The British, now in control of the land, imposed new policies that alienated the very people who had helped them win. The British government, deeply in debt, began taxing the American colonies to recoup the cost of the war. The American colonists, who had been at the heart of the war effort, felt betrayed. The war had been fought on their soil, and yet now the British were taxing them without representation. The French and Indian War's legacy would not just be territorial, It would be the spark that ignited a revolution. The French and Indian War didn't just decide who would control North America, it set into motion the tensions, alliances, and divisions that would lead to the American Revolution, the creation of the United States, and the rise of British imperialism. The borders we see today, the United States, Canada, the westward expansion, were all shaped by the events of this conflict. The war also highlighted the fragility of colonial empires. The global balance of power shifted forever, and in ways we're still grappling with today, the French and Indian War reminds us that seemingly small conflicts can have consequences that echo for centuries. If the French had won, if the Native American tribes had held their ground, North America would look very different today. The U.S. might not have existed, or perhaps it would have taken a different form altogether. History is a chain of events, each link leading to the next. The French and Indian War was just one battle in a much larger conflict that would shape the future. But what if it had gone another way? What if the war had been lost by the British? Would the American Revolution still have happened? And what would North America look like now? The answers are buried in the past, and the next question is waiting. Hit the like button if you want to dive deeper into the conflicts that shaped our world. Subscribe, comment below, and let me know, what do you think would have happened if the French and Indian War had gone differently?